We are the guardians of the looking glass. We are a group of former intelligence officers and military officials who have come together to release classified information about future events to come. Our knowledge comes from our work on the looking glass artifact, first discovered in Iraq, along with other discoveries in the 1990s. During this time, the artifact was activated by the US military and connected to computers. We were able to see dozens of future timelines and the convergence or singularities that led to two possible outcomes by the year 2030. In one outcome, humanity awakens and the current order is dismantled. An event then occurs, and instead of this event being negative, it is a positive one. In the other outcome, the current structure remains in place, a nuclear war takes place, along with many horrible events. Then the event occurs, and instead of being a positive event, it is a negative one. You may wonder how one event can either be positive or negative. You will learn, and it will make perfect sense to you once it is explained. This event is a cosmic event, something that happens in our solar system. Without the intervention by the current power structure, this event would be incredibly positive. But due to the vaccines and a secondary plan being developed, the event will instead be turned into a nightmare. We will explain more in a secondary video, which is being released soon, titled 2030 and the event, if you want to learn more about it. Now, let's move on to the current timelines we are facing and how we must act to change these outcomes. Based on what we learned from the looking glass artifact, we concluded that we must release these videos at this time so that the horrifying events that are about to unfold can be changed. Each week, we will release a new video. Each week, you will learn of new specific timeline changes so that you can work to change the future outcome. We have been waiting many years to finally release this information. Our video releases are specifically timed based on what the looking glass artifact revealed about how to change future events. What we were able to see was that our videos must be released now. Not in the past, not in the future, but on these specific dates, starting in March 2022. We were also able to see that the events can only be changed by the actions of those watching these videos. If these videos are spread and shared by thousands of people, the events can be changed. If the videos are not spread and shared, then the events cannot be changed, and the most negative timeline is then solidified and set in stone. The looking glass artifact showed this to us, that it is dependent on the actions of others to change the outcomes. Your work and help to spread this message then becomes vital. It will be up to you what happens. For our first video, we will start with one future date. Future videos we will post will deal with new dates and new events. What follows is the most recent, most important event we must act to change. The date of the first event is April 18, 2022. On this date, a false flag attack will occur in New York City. A bomb will be set off, killing 2,000 Americans instantly and injuring thousands. The bomb will be housed in a large van and set off on or near Times Square during a busy time. This bomb has been planted by interests aligned with the West and their agenda. The media will blame Russia, so will President Biden. They will present some false evidence that points to Russia being the culprit, and much of the world will be convinced. The condemnations will be swift, and then there will be military action. Biden will order an all-out attack of every Russian outpost and asset outside of her borders. This will include all assets in Ukraine and any Russian military naval vessel not at port. Russia's response is restrained. Russia attacks some US assets in Europe but avoids many casualties. Russia manages to only kill a few US military service people, while the United States has just killed thousands of Russian military service people. This leads to conflicting narratives. Some say Russia looks weak and defeated, while others rush to Russia's side, including India and China. By this time, many begin to doubt Russia was behind a truck bombing attack. Many also see the US's response as too hasty and too severe. Seeing that the first false flag was a general failure and the narrative is turning against them, the West prepares a second false flag. This plan involves the release of anthrax all over Washington, D.C. The plan will use strain 836 of anthrax, the most potent and deadly ever created. It is a strain created by Russia in the past and later destroyed by Russia. However, unbeknownst to the Russians, the strain was smuggled out of Russia by Western assets many years ago and developed in US biolaboratories. Once it is confirmed that it is strain 836, all blame will land at Russia's feet. It is a well-known creation of Russia. Many will believe Russia must be behind it. The attack will kill over 100,000 people within a few days and spread to outlying areas. The attack is so severe that it begins to spread to many large eastern cities, and within 1 week millions are dead and millions more severely ill. The military-grade anthrax is so potent, its spread cannot be contained. Much of the eastern US is closed off based on wind patterns, mostly impacting New England. The Biden administration is moved out of D.C. before the attack, as they had knowledge of it. They are moved to Denver. Here, the United States blames Russia for the attack, and a nuclear war starts off. The US launches an all-out nuclear attack at Russia, at every Russian city and asset. But only 30% of the nukes reach Russia or impact. Russia's air defenses are more robust than previously suspected. Russia's response is not forgiving this time, but rather ruthless and brutal. She responds within minutes by targeting all US military installations and nuclear sites, but also launches nukes at 20 large American cities, and 18 make impact. 25 million Americans are vaporized instantly as Russia decides to use its more powerful nukes. Another 50 million suffer injuries, and another 70 million are at risk of mild radiation poisoning. Due to false science and misunderstandings about nuclear weapons, the fallout is not nearly as severe as many believed it would be. Both the US and Russia were aware of this for many years, but decided not to correct this false information, leading many to believe a nuclear war would lead to a nuclear winter. This turns out not to be the case, as the radiation is generally mild and dissipates quickly. However, the devastation caused by the blasts themselves is significantly more severe than the nukes used on Japan. The weapons are now so powerful that a radius up to 20 miles by 20 miles can be vaporized. America's defenses are not strong enough to stop all of the nukes. The US readies her most advanced flying machine, the TR-3B, but it is not able to track the missiles due to a technology Russia developed. The technology is a cloaking and holographic type, never before seen, and not something the US was ready for. The TR-3B can track the nukes and even fly alongside them, but targeting systems fail at every attempt to destroy them. The pilots of the TR-3B become so desperate they attempt to fly into the nukes with the aircraft, but even these attempts fail. Between the nuclear exchanges, Russia survives, and the United States is completely annihilated. Canada does not receive a nuclear strike, but instead receives countless conventional strikes, disabling her small military and devastating her infrastructure. All commerce ceases in both the US and Canada, and a total breakdown of society occurs. The world is shocked. Many criticize Russia for the brutality of the attack, but many also note that the United States attacked first. Many also doubt Russia was behind the truck bombing or the anthrax attack at this point, as the United States' evidence and claims appeared rushed and dubious upon closer examination. Whatever the moral qualms the world feels, the world comes to recognize Russia as the victor in the battle. From this point, Russia threatens Europe and destroys some of her targets. Europe capitulates quickly and surrenders to avoid further damage. At this point, 17 days after the first nuclear weapon is fired, the war is over, and Russia and China are now the de facto world powers. Russia and China agree to help the United States, and a ceasefire is agreed upon. A clean-up and rescue effort takes place. 1 week into the ceasefire, the last remaining American military officials plot to fire some of her last available cruise missiles and munitions at ships crossing the sea from China and Europe. The attack takes place, and most of the missiles are shot out of the sky by a ready and alert Russian and Chinese military, but 2 reach their targets, destroying 2 large ships and further preventing a rescue effort and souring sympathies toward the US. The US and Canada fall into total chaos. Millions cross into Mexico, creating a humanitarian crisis. Many of the cartels that control the northern part of Mexico start defending their land, and countless gun battles take place. Americans find Mexico cannot help or house them at all, and total bedlam and chaos consumes the northern hemisphere. The Mexican and Central American armies gather to create a defensive wall between Culiacan to Chihuahua to Monterrey to stop the oncoming hordes. Many South American countries rally to join, realizing millions of desperate Americans may reach South America eventually. The world's remaining powers continue to attempt humanitarian aid, but later conclude a military effort must take place as the entire region has become lawless. Chinese and Russian troops then land on American soil, and a brutal campaign of order and enforcement begins. Both countries split the US up into regions they agree to jointly or fully control. Many Americans, armed to the teeth with guns, stage small resistances and skirmishes. This goes on for many years, leading up to 2030. During this time, a new plot is underway, a plot hashed by the elites in Europe, one the Russians and Chinese share no involvement in. The plot is to release a new pathogen to justify a new vaccine. The vaccine is designed to interact with the existing vaccines and graphene oxide, now coursing through the bodies of billions of people. It is also designed to be introduced to the second and third world through a new campaign that will dose the rest of the planet that did not get vaccinated. The graphene oxide is not designed to kill, but rather death is a side effect, in some. Its true purpose is to interact with the solar event, the event to occur in 2030. The graphene oxide will cause this event to be a horrifying one, rather than a positive one. If one is vaccinated at all, they will experience not only a physical, but also a multidimensional annihilation when the event takes place, to a point their souls, or extra-dimensional essences, will be severely damaged and vibrational frequencies reattuned so that they align with the most negative, dark energies existing within the realm of Earth. The positive outcome is one also revealed by the looking glass, one seen by each member of Guardians of the Looking Glass. We were shown that as humanity steps in to stop all of these horrific events, one by one, through the help of our work, that a future emerges leading up to 2030 whereby humanity ascends to a higher consciousness, one more loving, one more aware, one more understanding. Each individual begins to see the world as it is, rather than how it is filtered through the media, Hollywood, and government. An unveiling takes place. The vaccines are rejected. A cure is found for those poisoned by the graphene oxide who regret their decision. Each horrific event is stopped. Then, the event takes place in 2030, and the human body, free from the vaccine toxins, is transformed through a cosmic energy burst, one that invigorates every human with new life, vitality, and youthfulness, as well as higher dimensional abilities and powers. Each person reverts in age to about the appearance of being in their mid to late 20s. All disease is eliminated. The human body can live off of energy, light and water, and has no need for food, but food can still be consumed. A new renewal and connection with the earth occurs. Small community governments take hold, and large international power structures and monopolies die off. Humans can now live up to 1,000 years. New inventions come about that clean up the earth, such as bacteria that eat plastic. The old, corrupt governments are dismantled, the European elites lose all of their power, to the point that some end up in the streets as beggars. There is no campaign of revenge at all. Humanity simply stops feeding the negative forces energy, and without that energy, they wither and fade away. They have no power without the power fed to them by billions of people, and once billions decide to remove that power, they are left with nothing. This is how they are defeated, and this is how they end up, simply as beggars or left alone with nothing. Many of them go mad at this point, as their wealth and power is stripped away. This is a glimpse of the positive outcome, one we will share more of in upcoming videos. Now, to stop these events, we must first stop the attack on April 18th. If this event is not stopped, then the timeline cannot be reversed from the negative outcome. If it can be stopped, additional videos will describe other events that must then be prevented over the course of the years 2022 to 2029. The attack on April 18th is only the beginning of a series of horrific events that are to come, that one by one must be prevented. Over 70 events have been identified that must be changed, or the outcome will be that of the negative one in 2030. In addition to this, around 50 or so special individuals were also identified as being necessary in helping change the outcome. These people will play a key role to stop the April 18th attack and all other future events that must be altered and changed. Some of them we have already contacted to let them know how important they are, and others will be led to us to contact us. Each will be given special instructions from us, actions they must take to bring about the positive timeline and outcome. The looking glass showed us we would come under severe attack from the European elites and their countless minions, and we must be prepared to defend those attacks. These attacks will range from our videos being removed, our credibility being questioned, and attempts to reveal our real identities that would lead to our murder. We need everyone who wants to stop the negative outcome to help defend us as these attacks take place, otherwise we will not succeed. We are asking those of you who wish to join us to identify yourselves as guardians. You must then share each video, and millions must see them, or these events will not be changed, and the positive outcome of the event in 2030 will not happen. It bears repeating that even if the April 18th attack is stopped, there are as many as 70 additional events in the coming days, months and years that must also be stopped, each and every one of them. We cannot succeed without your attention, dedication and help.